Breaking chaos in France. Mass protests and strikes spark arrests, streets paralyzed, critics and analysis. France has erupted in extraordinary unrest as mass protests and nationwide strikes paralyze its largest cities. Sparked by government austerity and budget cuts, demonstrations have swept Paris, Lyon, and Marseille, crippling transport, schools, and hospitals. Trains idle, roads block, and workplaces close while thousands demand protection from shrinking social benefits. What began as labor action has become a nationwide movement. Arrests and clashes with police escalate tensions, raising fears of deeper instability and potential long-term political fallout for President Emmanuel Macron's administration. President Emmanuel Macron's government faces mounting criticism as austerity measures fuel public anger. Protesters accuse officials of protecting elites while ordinary citizens bear the weight of rising living costs, stagnant wages, and vanishing safety nets. Leaders insist tough budget choices are needed to stabilize debt, but the public views this as tone-deaf and unfair. Riot police firing tear gas and making mass arrests create an image of repression, reinforcing anger. The growing perception that leaders are disconnected from daily struggles is fueling distrust, and each police clash or arrest becomes a powerful symbol of alienation. The impact of unrest extends into daily life, worsening public frustration. Parents scramble as schools shut, commuters face endless delays, and hospital services strain as workers walk off jobs. Protesters say strikes are their only way to force the government to listen, while officials warn of disorder and chaos. The standoff has created dueling narratives. Demonstrators claim they fight for dignity. Leaders argue they defend order. Arrests highlight the gulf between citizens and state authority, with each confrontation amplifying a sense of disconnection and anger. France's democracy faces a test of its resilience. The upheaval in France mirrors broader frustrations across democracies. In Canada, Prime Minister Mark Carney faces rising public anxiety over inflation, debt burdens, and housing costs. His government has responded with major interest rate cuts and a new housing agency to boost affordability, but many citizens feel change is too slow. With wages lagging and costs climbing, discontent grows. While Canadians are not flooding streets in the same way, the same issues that fuel protests in France, economic hardship and government mistrust, are increasingly echoed north of the border, threatening to destabilize political confidence. In the United States, President Donald Trump confronts similar social and economic tensions. Labor Day, workers over billionaires rallies drew thousands demanding wage fairness, healthcare access, and protections from elite-driven policies. Though smaller than France's strikes, these protests highlight growing frustration among working Americans. Inflation may be cooling, but housing remains unaffordable and wages trail costs. Many feel government policies prioritize corporations over ordinary families. These frustrations mirror France's protests, showing that in democracies across the West, people demand leaders put everyday citizens first, or face mounting backlash. Inequality unites these struggles across France, Canada, and the U.S. Despite signs of economic stability, ordinary families still face food prices, housing crises, and stagnant wages. Energy remains volatile, and younger generations see homeownership slipping further away. Workers feel exploited as corporate profits climb, fueling resentment that elites are shielded while households bear shocks. These disparities foster mistrust in government and strengthen populist movements. Citizens question whether leaders govern for the people or financial interests, raising deeper concerns about democratic legitimacy in all three countries. France's crisis carries symbolic weight because of its protest history. Strikes and uprisings have shaped French politics for decades, and today's mobilization follows that tradition. Unions and workers have united to paralyze society, forcing Macron's administration into a difficult position: negotiate or risk escalation. Each day of disruption heightens pressure and deepens divisions. Without compromise, unrest could transform into a wider political battle, reshaping Parliament's balance and threatening Macron's authority. France's response will define not just this crisis, but the credibility of its democratic system. Canada is watching France closely as Carney navigates a fragile minority government. Housing remains the most pressing concern, with families squeezed by rents and mortgages while wages stagnate. Regional frustrations, particularly in Alberta, also loom as residents accuse Ottawa of neglecting their priorities. Carney must balance debt management with visible relief for struggling households. If he miscalculates, he risks fueling opposition parties, losing public trust, and triggering protests of his own. France's turmoil is a reminder that in today's climate, citizens can shift from discontent to mass mobilization with startling speed. The United States also risks upheaval. Trump leads a polarized nation where protests frequently escalate beyond economics into cultural and political disputes. Immigration, healthcare, and justice issues combine with labor struggles, amplifying unrest. The Labor Day rallies highlighted workers' impatience, warning that grievances could unite with broader movements, creating widespread disruption. Trump faces the challenge of addressing public frustration without inflaming divisions. The parallels with France show how fragile public trust is and how easily leaders can lose control if they fail to engage meaningfully with citizens' demands. Global forces make these crises interconnected. Supply chain weaknesses, volatile energy markets, and trade disputes are straining all Western economies. Governments must juggle fiscal restraint with demands for expanded social support, but missteps can spark unrest. Citizens demand not only economic stability but fairness, transparency, and opportunity. Failure to provide these opens the door to populist uprisings and mass demonstrations. France's paralysis shows how quickly discontent overwhelms institutions, and leaders in Canada and the U.S. are right to view the French crisis as a warning of what could come. The way forward demands humility and real solutions. Macron's government risks hardening divisions by leaning on force, while Carney must show Canadians that his policies will deliver real relief. Trump, in turn, must navigate polarized politics without dismissing grievances that fuel labor unrest. Each leader faces unique pressures but the same core demand: listen, adapt, and respond before discontent spills into chaos. Success will strengthen democracy. Failure risks crises of legitimacy that no government can easily recover from. The stakes extend well beyond domestic politics. France's unrest shows democracy depends on trust, not just institutions. When people feel ignored, the streets become their voice, turning frustration into disruption. Macron faces a defining test, but Carney and Trump must also take heed. The turmoil in Paris and beyond is a global warning. Leaders who disregard citizens' voices risk severe consequences. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more updates.